Right, as many of you were, we were glued onto the televisions, watching, listening, waiting with bated breath to understand exactly what Parliament is going to produce. Today, we are joined by one of the members of Parliament, specifically the member for Nandi Hills, who was there in the room, in the flesh, and cast his vote. We're here to talk to him a little bit about what happened. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much
Sir,
for having me here.
You're welcome. You're absolutely welcome.
Thank you.
Paint the picture for us. What was the room like? We saw it, but you were there, you felt it. What was the room like as this debate was happening?
I must say that it began, first of all, when this motion was brought to the floor of the House by the Honourable Member Mutuse, and he laid the grounds on why he felt that we needed to have a consideration as the 13th Parliament on the conduct of the Deputy President, and we took time also to go through, and then afterwards, of course, you remember, we did a public participation also to get the opinion of what our bosses say back in where, villages. And of course, like in Nandi Hills, over 95% of the people who polled, who were asked, to give their views about what are their thoughts about the 11 grounds that had been laid about the Deputy President. And of course, when we came back, people were very expectant to really debate. And of course, when the Honorable Mutuse took to the floor, he was able to elucidate, convince everyone on, he had done some good research, and there were quite a number of grounds. And of course, if one ground is found, it's sufficient enough to, to take us through. So the whole time it was really charged until the moment, of course, when the Deputy President also came to, present his part of the case, and we heard him. And of course, even the more the Deputy President spoke, the more, we were able to even poke more holes onto his evidence. But I think the press conference that he did the previous night, and when we termed, of course, that probably the members of Parliament is going, the respectable House of Parliament will be a theatre of the absurd, and he says, there was going to be a circus, those types of sentiments, I think went on to push like this is the view of what every member and every leader felt that they're being underrated. Okay. So the expectation of having heard him well, because most of us really wanted to hear his defense. What is he going to say? How is he going to rebuttal it? And thereafter, of course, we went to the vote, and the vote was ecstatic.
A lot of people are curious. A lot of the people that actually, a lot of the members of Parliament that voted no were consistent. A lot of them had one thing in common. They said they were voting out of their conscience. Their conscience could not allow them to do this. What did your conscience tell you? What convinced you personally to be able to make the vote that you did?
I would say if the vote was a secret ballot, I can tell you the numbers would be higher. The fears that probably most of the leaders had with the Deputy President is now part of the region of this country. He's been able to take so much, solidify the grounds, the people where most people feared if they voted yes, then they were facing, a challenge back from their backyards. And so the numbers would have been more than 281. For me, I felt by voting this, first of all, I'm going to lift to another level the leadership that is going to come into the future, where we are going to kill this aspect of tribalism, where it had become so emboldened, where part of the regions were made to be more superior than others. And we're feeling that when you're in a position of a Deputy President, you are supposed to show some level of nationalism, bring everybody on board. Not a situation where you would find somebody, probably you are in one part of the region and you go there, when you're given an opportunity to speak on top of a vehicle, you begin to say, I want to bring you greetings from a particular section of our country. So we feel that we have lifted then the leadership to another level. The leader who is going to come must respect those above him and those slightly below him, and of course the voters. All right.
Here's another thing. They say, in Africa there's a proverb that goes that if the fish comes to tell you that the crocodile is sick, you do not argue with the fish. As somebody who's actually close to the matrix of power, what insight can you give us on why these two people who were very close, who appeared to be very united in spirit and in intention, what actually came in between them to cause such a rift that 2 years down the line, we're talking about an impeachment?
it's glaring even to you, the conduct of our respectable deputy president. It is glaring, you know. We all know how he's been conducting himself. And of course, the other private things that came up, you know, like, the issue of the corruption, accusations and those kinds of things. I don't want to delve there. But as to the finesse of the things that happened between the two leaders, it's another story I may not want to engage into. But I want to say the function of the removal of the deputy president is premised in Parliament. And so for most of us leaders, we felt that the way things are is not at its best. And so the best thing we needed to do is to clean up that office.
Okay.
That any leader who will ever get in to be a servant of the Kenyan people, in whatever position, you take it with due regard, that you respect anybody and you know, I'm here for a particular reason, respect the law, respect how you treat those, I repeat again, above you and below you.
All right. Now, before I let you go, sir, and before we go on a short break, is Parliament independent?
Parliament is independent. We made that decision consciously. The respectable member brought the motion, we debated the motion, and the mood of the House was, yes, we feel that indeed there has to be a change in this position. I repeat again, this is going to create a shift completely in the leadership of this country and to the future.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been speaking to the Member of Parliament for Nandi Hills. We're talking about Mr. Bernard Kibor. Karibu sana, and thank you for your views. We're going